Okay,
Oh,
we're
hey,
good. We're
look at that. Look at
we
all
made
these
it.
folks in the chat.
We
We are
6 minutes
totally doing a
late.
show.
Yeah, totally. No last, obviously last minute technical issues that of course show up 2 minutes because I decided to show up exactly at the time we were supposed to go live. Oh man, I got to tell you, breaking fast and trying to make it to the live stream is a little bit hard as it gets later in the month. But this is the
Yeah.
last Thursday in the month of Ramadan, so yeah, so 2 more days and we're done. Sunday looks like it's going to be the celebration, the the first day after. So
Again, I think well deserved.
yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of both. I mean, part of me kind of misses the whole month because you kind of get used to eating one meal a day, right?
Yeah.
And for the rest of the day, you feel lighter. Like you're not bogged down. You don't feel like you have to go grab food and all that good stuff. You fill your day with things to do, and now I gotta kind of go back into normal thing. But I also want to go back to my normal workout schedule too. So I want to get back into
Yeah.
working out and stuff. But hey, man, hope you're doing well. I want to say thank you to everybody for hanging out with us and kicking it with us for ahead of us. Actually, they showed up first, so
Yeah,
we're
they were all
joining.
on time. They
They
got the
were on
memo.
time.
Apparently,
Yeah.
we didn't to our own show.
No, and even though we tweeted it and we confirmed it. Um, so yeah, welcome back to the best of our week, episode 67. We are your hosts. I'm TK Bay, and of course we have Juan Carlos Bagnell, Mr. Gadget. Sorry, some
Hey.
gadget guy, some audio guy,
Yeah,
and some
I'm
LG
not
chill guy.
Mr. I'm not Mr. Gadget Guy.
You're
That's
not
my
Mr. That's
dad.
my dad.
You,
I
it's the
walked right into
corniest
that.
joke
I
ever. I
walked
love
into
it.
that one. No, I know. It's been an interesting week. And I say this every time, but actually, I want to take a step back.
Sure.
How are you doing?
I'm
We didn't really
good.
never start. We never even start kind
You
of
know,
catching up because we
I've
catch
been
up.
I've been real cagey
Hmm.
publicly about like the things that I can't talk about
Oh
because I've
man,
got a few things on my desk that I
the
can't
stories
yet
we can
talk
write
about.
and publish just based on the things you can't talk about.
I almost made a horrifically stupid mistake jumping onto the stream, putting
Hmm.
something up in a location that would have been clearly visible. So
You didn't have to say it,
managed.
man. You could have just left it. It's their job to keep looking behind you.
It's the Where's
Looking.
Waldo.
See, yeah. Look
Um,
beyond Juan and see what he's at.
so I managed to catch that one, but no, this
Cool.
this week has been, and I think we've been having a number of these conversations, and I think those of us who are kind of keeping up with tech, the folks that are here in our chat right now,
I'm sure.
probably understand that as we kind of go through the ebb and flow of new product releases and cycles throughout the year,
Yep.
we hit these windows like. There hasn't been a release for a couple months, and then everybody drops a whole bunch of new things all at once, and
I
then you kind of roll, and again, it's new hotness, then
do they
recovery,
talk
new
though?
hotness and recovery.
Do you ever wonder if there's like ever this ever epic, secretive meeting between all these companies? They're like, okay, we're going to be doing this at the end of April before May. We're going to drop a whole bunch of stuff. You cool? You
Okay,
cool? Okay, I'm going to take
yeah, let's
Monday.
do
You
it.
take Tuesday. Because they
I
never go on
really
top of
feel.
each other, right? They never
Oh, it's
land on
very
top.
clear. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
It
but
has
I
to
think
be.
it's more the opposite. Like, oh, that company thinks they can launch in May. We'll launch in May too. I think it's more like gamesmanship
There's
at
7
this
days left in
point.
the. No,
Yeah,
wait. What is today? 28th.
the
There's not that many
28th.
days. I'm just yeah. It
May is like tomorrow. I
Yeah,
mean, that's nuts.
well, dude, before you know it, you got, I mean, not this weekend, obviously, but next weekend, we got Mother's Day weekend. Um, and for me, obviously, this weekend is a special weekend as well because the end of Ramadan and stuff like that. So there's like a whole bunch of things kind of going on. It's not like, there's no
Yeah.
shortness of that. But for me, and at least for us, we both got a chance to play around with a fun phone that we finally can actually talk about that we
Yes.
couldn't talk about last week
Let me
because it
make
was
sure I
like,
don't hold up one of the things I'm not supposed to hold up.
hold on, let me see here.
I've got mine.
Um, and well, and also for Pro I customers or users, Android 12 finally dropped in the
Nice.
US. Although I feel like
Very
in
nice.
other countries they probably had it months ago.
Yeah, they had. I
I
mean, they
because
slow played the United States, but we're also talking about this F4 GT.
yeah, and so I'm very happy that we both got. Hold on, can't because Sony gonna nope, Sony doesn't. Hey,
Panasonic beat your Sony, doodah,
I can't keep
doodah.
doing it every single time. We have to kind of log in, and I have to. Well,
I
for
even
instance,
have NVIDIA going, and it didn't blur it out. Oh, doodah day.
Dang it, Nvidia. Okay, so I have to connect. I'll do my thing. We'll use Juan as the hand model.
The hand model.
Yeah.
Great.
Your check will be in the mail, sir, at a later date.
But I'm also trying to break in that watch.
Oh,
Again,
yes.
not to air too much of our gadget reviewing dirty laundry, but the Poco sent over this awesome phone and this cute little watch.
Yep.
And I never got a reply on if there was some type of special activation or a sideload APK for the watch management software. So I haven't been able to use it because it can't connect to anything.
Even now?
The watch doesn't connect. So but I mean, I couldn't use it during our little brief embargo window.
Yeah, exactly.
So unfortunately, I couldn't talk about it. And just like, it's a fitness tracker. It looks pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be getting that fired up, and hopefully over this next week, I can really run it through its paces. I'll be late to the Poco watch, but the phone has been a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I think the phone is definitely the star of the show, and I feel like it's nice to see Poco kind of spread out into other things, other products. I mean, they've done phones for quite some time, and the F4 is definitely a great. It's a great gaming phone. I love the triggers. I love the.
Did you get to play with the F3 GT?
No, I got the F3, but not the GT.
I got the F3. I never got to play with the F3 GT.
Yeah, so there was
it definitely reminds me of another gaming phone quite a bit.
Watch out what's in the water, man. Watch out. There's a lot of ferocious animals in the water.
We just got demonetized.
Wait, I have to go the other way.
This
Spielberg. Well, Spielberg's lawyers are right now. Did they just do an reenactment of Jaws, and he actually just no?
You know what? And and props to us because we didn't show the shark, because that would have made it way less scary if we'd shown.
Well, you still have one though. You still have the Black Shark. I don't even have that phone. But
yeah, I've got the Black Shark 4. It's over on the bookshelf behind me. But that when we talk about one of the massive advantages of Xiaomi as just sort of a global entity is this incredible parts bin that they can draw all these different little pieces from, and just how aggressive they are at stapling all those pieces into new phones with like very, very small, sort of striations. There's a whole spectrum of devices. The F4 GT kind of feels like one of those phones that's born out of the advantage of having a gaming division and a high performance phone division and a budget division all sort of working together.
And so in comparison to some of the other Pocos that we've seen earlier this year, this is definitely a more of a powerhouse, right? We're not talking mid-range to budget. This is definitely trying to push the limit. But I was really surprised with the early bird pricing on the base model, 499 euros. Like, what are you? Yeah. I mean, like serious? I mean, they're known for their early birds. I love the fact. I don't know how many people are actually able to get, because I'm sure it's a limited quantity. But fact that it started at $499 and the 12 256 started at $599 is crazy, because this is so. And it works, by the way, in the US. It's not like you have problems. If you want to import it and you want to try using it here in the US,
it's pretty
you're not going to get 5G, but you're going to get pretty decent 4G LTE connectivity, at least on T-Mobile, the way I was testing it.
That's kind of where we're at. I mean, for a number of these import phones, and I wouldn't be too conflicted. I mean, again, the signal and the reception, especially in my neighborhood, has been pretty decent. It would be nice if we could at least kind of land some global consideration for sub-6, but that's the United States carrier game messing around with different radios and frequencies.
And I know, and I want to talk a little bit more about carrier conversations a little bit when we get into the Nord later on. But yeah, no, absolutely. And we've seen this from many companies. If you think about that, they realize that to release a phone, if they're not going to just sell it on their own website and by themselves. And we've seen this with Sony, right? I mean, they did it, was it a couple of years ago when they did the Pro, and that was primarily on Verizon because of the, millimeter wave technology. But otherwise, they were sold unlocked, and I think they
were a year behind.
The 5G rollout in the US was a year behind specifically because of that. They didn't want to play the game of which technology do we support, which do we don't, So long story, extremely short or long, I guess. What we get now is, at least with the majority, with the exception of the India specific devices, and I say that because of the when we jump into Vivo, some markets are not intended to be in the spectrum, and
Hmm.
that one is a little bit harder. But I'm saying, like, Poco, OnePlus, Xiaomi, Oppo, most of those you'll get pretty decent 4G LTE connectivity on T-Mobile
Yeah,
or on AT&T.
for sure.
Verizon is definitely not in the game right now, but because there's the certification there.
So I still feel I still feel it's safe to say if
Hmm.
you're on T-Mobile or a T-Mobile MVNO, you
Yeah,
likely have the safest compatibility.
yeah.
Verizon has typically been one of the more challenging carriers to get activated, but most recently we've been hearing about how aggressive AT&T has been whitelisting devices for their network. So
Well,
now I
that's
would
good.
actually be a bit concerned
Hmm.
about trying to get an import phone on AT&T even over Verizon. Like I now kind of flip my rankings on which ones might be safer to at least try. If you're
Yeah.
looking at some of these genuinely like wonderful competitive international phones that we just don't get flavors of here in the United States.
Oh, yeah, because the F4 is not even intended for our market yet. I'm sure at some point people will start importing it and they'll sell it on Amazon and so on, or even maybe
Hmm.
B&H will start putting it out. But
For sure.
so I'll say this: did you figure out how to get the LED the LEDs on the back to work consistently?
No.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Uh,
I can even shoot video of them. I didn't even bring them up in my
so I
review.
got one clip. I kept playing, and I realized this was the only time I was able to get it. Every time I launched, not every game, specifically Call of Duty Mobile, it blinks for like doo, doo, and then goes away. So I caught that,
That's hilarious.
and I framed that like a picture of my kid up when he was born, and and I made sure to include that when I talked about it, because there was no way. So it's a hit and miss, and I feel like maybe it needs just a software update to get it
I
to.
think the RGBs are a miss.
Yeah,
But both
because
both on no, I'm serious. Both on the Poco, but then also you had the Red Magic 7. I've got the Red
yeah,
Magic 7 Pro,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the Red Magic 7 Pro has these much more subtle chevron
Hmm.
RGBs on the back,
Yeah, yeah.
which also kind of like what's going on with the Poco. It's like they're so subtle and they're so dim, like there's you can almost say like why have them. I remember when we had the big old Razer logo on the Razer Phone 2, and you could sit there and customize the color and the
Oh
fade
my God,
effect and
Chroma.
everything
Yes,
you could
yes,
do.
yes.
And now I've got like brilliantly powerful RGB phones that you can barely tell they've got any color accent or color lighting
It's
on them.
it's and I'll say this: the seven that I had was also a limited edition, not a limited. It's a specific version of it. It's the higher end model that, like, the
Yeah,
18 256 whatever, and
sure.
that one had RGB in the fan on the
Yep.
inside of the
But
phone.
my Pro doesn't. I
Yeah,
got the version of the Pro that doesn't have the fan
so
RGB. It just has the weird chevron. It's
chevron thing.
here. It's like just these little strips right here.
It's a
And
breathing, yeah, it's more of an ambient mood set. It's not, hardcore gamer kind of, I got RGB in the back of my chair kind of kind of a
I,
state from
I,
saying.
I'm not gonna say it's not worth it. I'm just gonna say it's so subtle. But I digress.
So
So you've been rocking the F4 GT.
yes,
I've been
yes,
rocking the F4 GT.
between the two
We've
of us, it's the
recently
F8 GT cube. Sorry, squared, but yeah.
right? Oh, you nerd. No, but we've recently also I think we've been kind of over Venn diagram overlapping a little bit on some of the games that we like to play and test.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you're still playing a bit more of the battle royale than I am, and I think
It's the
I'm playing a
time,
bit more
yeah.
of the arcadey stuff than you
Well, you
are.
you got me hooked on Undead Horde pretty
Yeah,
hardcore now. I mean, so like Undead Horde and
it's such a good game to just
it's
run a couple maps on and just figure out
easy. I
if it's
can
doing
jump
it.
into it and I can just, like, literally, like, do a hyperlapse, jump over 20, 30 minutes from now just to kind of go play with the game. And um, the big thing about it for me right now is, battle royales are fun because they're short, they're easy. You know
Yes.
exactly what's going to happen. PUBG is typically a 25, 30-minute match, unless I get killed right away. That's, depending on the match. I've been enjoying new state of PUBG also a little bit more because of the better graphic. Free Fire
Nice.
is also another one that I started to play primarily because of Realme sending me a custom edition. So
But I mean
yeah,
it's good, right?
it is actually not a bad game. I see a lot of PUBG in it. So, like, as I'm playing it, I'm like, oh, the gaming mechanics
Yeah, for
exactly the
sure.
same. Oh yeah, oh, I carry two guns. Oh, okay, so I can switch. Okay, well, that's fine. Um, but I will say though the triggers though is what I really enjoy. This is one thing I liked on the Red Magic and even on ROG. Those triggers seriously improve the mechanics of the game and make it so that you can enjoy more of the display, which you're not covering, the claw kind of configuration.
Hmm.
So it's customizable for each game. Um, and I really like the fact that Poco didn't disable the buttons when you're not playing games. You can customize them to trigger other things. Like there's a double press and a press and hold to do other functionalities on the phone that you normally would have to. Like there's like macro settings. You have four configurations in there that you could do.
See if I
Uh,
can.
you can launch the camera. Yeah, see, oh, so you did the same thing. The bottom one on the right.
Yeah,
Guess where we got that from?
camera launch.
This is all called Sony
Yeah.
because we
I just wish it could be used as a shutter so that you could
yeah,
actually use
that's
it to take the photo, but you can still at least go back to the volume rocker for that. But
yeah,
I didn't need a dual stage shutter, but it would have been nice to have just the
something. Yeah.
single button on
I
it.
can totally see more functionalities there. But anyways, long story short, the experience for me getting into it was this was the first GT. So I've experienced the F3, and I think we both have. And we haven't experienced like a standard F4. They went straight to F4 GT. So the detail, the amount of detail focus on them that really surprised me, from the angled cable, the right hand side.
Yes.
That is like, I mean, come on,
It's
like
so good.
it's the right thing to do. And also putting both or all four speakers, although they're putting the speaker configuration close to each other, they put them on the top part of the phone, so when you're holding
Your hands
it, you're never
aren't blocking. Yeah.
things like that.
I'm willing to put myself out there because I haven't done like a full hardcore audio deep dive on a phone in a little bit. I'm like 87% confident in saying I think the Poco F4 GT might be the best sounding phone of 2022 so far.
Speaker size,
I think
speaker wise, or are you talking about using
so.
audio
I
over adapter?
think my speaker wise, not
Okay, yeah.
for headphone support. That's going to go to some other devices that I may or may not be able to talk about just quite yet. For when it comes to the Poco F4, it's just ever so slightly. The Red Magic 7 Pro is just a touch louder than the Poco. What Xiaomi Poco, what they're doing with clarity is nothing short of stunning. So it doesn't win in terms of total output, but if I'm holding my Red Magic 7 Pro at kind of near arm's length, because I'm just a touch farsighted, so I find as I game, I kind of push my hands a little further away than our that stupid assessment of like what your minimum focusing distance is for your eyeballs and pixel clarity. When I'm playing, the 7 Pro is just a little too loud, but it's shrill. So I think I would actually have an okay time playing near max speaker volume if some of those highs weren't quite so piercing. When I'm gaming on the Poco F4 GT, it is so much fuller when I'm at near that high level, near the maximum speaker output. It's not like I'm getting kind of overloaded on mid highs and highs where that's a piercing sound that I really don't like. It just feels like there's more sound around me, and it's fuller, and especially in the low mids, there's just a little bit more clarity and detail articulation. So like I always do that silly jazz clip for my speaker tests. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone knows what it is
Well,
because
we all know the song.
so many people tell me to stop using it, and you're like, no, there's a reason I keep using the same track. On phone speakers, it's really hard to hear the upright bass. The upright bass always gets lost because either the phone is pumping out way more volume and it's starting to get distorted and you lose some of the articulation on the attack on strings. The Poco is one of the few where that it's not only that I can hear it, it's that it feels like it's appropriately a part of the mix. It doesn't feel like compromised phone speakers. This is like yet another generational improvement where I'd say this phone easily displaces most inexpensive Bluetooth speakers if you want to fill a small office or a small bedroom.
Absolutely.
It really is like a stunning bit of audio for such an inexpensive phone.
Again, $499, starting at $499. This is what's crazy. What's driving me crazy because I was really, I thought they were gonna like try to shoot like a $799 or something like that. But, and just for everybody's kind of knowledge, we typically on any review, most companies never give us the price, so we don't know the price going into our experience.
So no, let me again. I'm not going to air all our dirty laundry, but
No, I
the
mean,
the day of the announcement, the Poco team sent out, here's our final press release. And I was so excited because I was literally rendering the video when I got it. It was like, okay, I could push stop on this render, just put in some text because I know the phone's going to be a price conscious.
aggressive.
Like that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Poco label.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So I fire up the press release and I finally skim down to the bottom and Poco F4 GT in this RAM storage configuration $X X X X. No, that's the one piece of information I needed.
They want you to do the math equation, Juan. You're supposed to know how to solve for X. If you
I solve for X times 4.XX. Sure.
You take the X, you multiply by 100, then you multiply that one by 4, and then you add another, 99 for the other X's.
But I mean, it was so in keeping with every experience that I've had from Poco,
it is.
where it's like, I guess I'll guess.
It is, and I don't know why though they do it, but I feel like in a way, it doesn't color our narrative that we're going in with it. I mean, knowing depending on the phone that you're looking at. I mean, obviously, if we're talking about a Nord, we know Nord is
what
very
that means.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is not going to be over 500. It's probably not even close to 400. We know that when we're looking at the pricing. But then with Poco, because this is again the 8 Gen 1, they didn't go the Black Shark route of the 870. They decided to go full on with the new system. I literally was expecting more, but they stuck to their guns.
With an 8 Gen 1, I was expecting higher. Now, obviously, their early bird pricing should not be taken. I mean, just like we shouldn't be looking at Samsung based on sales or trade-ins.
Yeah.
We should be comparing phones MSRP to MSRP, and we can expect those prices to kind of climb a little bit more into like Pixel 6 territory.
Oh, absolutely. The 1250, 256, I think. Yeah, for sure.
But again, this is an aggressive launch with aggressive hardware. And I think it's exciting in that it demonstrates yet another, for me, this is yet another example of a category of phones which has competition. We should be celebrating. This phone does not feel like a Red Magic. It certainly does not feel like an ROG. And there's even a little bit of a separation, just that little crowbar between this and a Black Shark. And so here we are. If you're into gaming, you've got any number of premium tier phones that can rock some awesome gaming experiences. Sony's can rock some amazing gaming experiences. And then we've got a quartet of, like edge of the bell curve, right? If you care about gaming on mobile to a degree where you want this kind of hardware to satisfy better control of your games, it's not just one phone that exists out there in some weird space. We've got 4 or 5. Yeah. I mean, I was forgetting about the Lenovo. I mean, you could look at the Legion phone also.
Legion phone,
so this to me is again, I mean, like, this is a good data to point to where we can say a phone is not one thing. There's a spectrum within a genre of phones. We should be looking at that for better competition. Gaming phones actually represent something kind of unique that I think has been flying under the radar in our more sort of mass market general sales figures, what phone sells the most kind of conversations. I've got 2 phones on my desk right now that absolutely excel at playing games. They're great for emulation. They're awesome for console and PC ports. They're really good for media playback if you want to stream video. The cameras are good enough.
I'm with you. And I will say that the F4 is definitely, the cameras are decent cameras in good lighting.
They're good.
They're good. Well, I mean, no, what I meant to say is like, the camera stack isn't really built to be a flagship camera experience. I think
not at these prices.
No, but but you need to kind of expect that. It still actually does perform quite well with at least the primary shooter in the back that gives you pretty good experience.
Yeah.
I still am so it's a gaming phone at its core, and you should consider it and measure that what you're getting there as that category. It's not
Yeah.
trying to be it's a GT. Obviously, it's not supposed to be a standard thing like an F3, or we're not talking about an Ultra like a Mi 12 Ultra or something like that. And once that becomes kind of
Now,
a thing,
Gregory really needs to know, TK, HDMI output.
I didn't get any. No,
I could not get it to put a
not
signal out
not
to
even
any
not
of
even screen
my.
mirroring. Yeah, not even its screen mirror. You have a button in there that lets you cast to a display,
Yeah,
so you could cast your screen over Wi-Fi, but direct
which
connection, I wish.
see, and don't we think this is a little bit silly? Because gamers are exactly the kind of people who are going to look at
Plugging it
any
in.
microsecond of delay as a total deal breaker if you were trying to throw an image to another display. Like, they are exactly the group of people who will plug cables into things that other consumers don't think they
Oh,
need cables for anymore.
exactly. That's what gamers are not afraid of dongles. They're not afraid of wires and stuff. This is literally all they do on their PCs. They're like wiring and getting things set up.
Yeah, the rest of the family can use the Wi-Fi. I have an Ethernet jack, and I will
Yeah.
not have lag in my competitive gaming.
Speaking of
Thank
which,
you.
Red Magic does have a dock that allows you to plug in a headphone jack that enables, full size, it's not a headphone jack, but like an I don't know why I'm calling it an RJ40. It's an RJ45, right? The no,
For
the Ethernet cable.
RJ45 is Ethernet.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah, it's a dock that allows you to plug in an RJ45, but I don't know
yeah.
why I was blanking on Ethernet.
So I like, as long as you've got USB 3,
Hmm.
you should be able to support. I mean, I had to do Ethernet on my V60
Yeah.
for some of the streams that I was running off of that phone. For whatever reason, it just did not like my Wi-Fi router at the time, and the only way I could get stable upstream on the V60 was literally to plug in an old school Ethernet
Yes.
adapter.
Yeah.
It was
No,
like
no.
what I used to use on my old Razer laptop when they got rid of the Ethernet port. I would plug that into my V60 through a dongle, and like, okay, I guess now I can upload from my V60.
Yeah, I know.
So it's kind of silly, but like, those kinds of considerations. Again, we're talking, there are so many different sort of flavors of different phones, and within gaming phones, there are like 5 major contenders.
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's a purity to the Red Magic conversation where it's like no compromises. You're going to get what you ask for, even if you don't really want what you ask for.
Hmm.
But it has a few extra little focused performance touches: charge separation, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack,
Yep.
video out through the USB-C port. To
Yep.
me, that's just like a purity of gaming conversation that takes one small step above what the F4 GT brings to the
Right.
table. But
Yep.
the F4 GT is going to be a less expensive phone in most of the markets where they might go head to head.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the reality of how you get the flavoring of it. Poco is still trying to stay true to the experience that their fans are expecting from them, the bang for the buck type of experience, regardless of what they release. I mean, even
Yeah.
with the watch that they released, or speaking of games, sorry, I have this massive book in
Hey,
here.
look at that. That
Um,
looks fancy.
a custom edition Not Red Magic, Poco Buds Pro with Genshin Impact
Ooh.
flavoring. And hold on, can we get this thing to go? Yes, we can.
Goes. That's hilarious.
And it's the little backpack has
Oh
strapped for
my
your
gosh.
belt,
That's
or even
adorable.
or
I
if
don't
you
even
want
know
to.
anything about Genshin other than it's just anime girls running around and fighting
It's
monsters and stuff.
it that's
And
what
even
that's
that's like, I would want to get that just for my daughter. Lex would love
dude.
that.
For me, it was like totally like I was like, oh my god, did they know I like the game? Is that what this is? And it's themed all down to like even to the buds himself. And the boot up
That's
sound,
cute.
the audio sound when it boots up, it's Keely's sound. It's like,
Mm,
hey, how you doing? And it has a whole bunch of different, like, I mean, who does that? Like, seriously, like, this is theming correctly. This is when you do a collaboration with a game. You don't just put a
yeah.
sticker on the box and it's like, hey, congratulations. No, no, no. They spent time. They developed it. this backpack is way too cute. I will never use the backpack because I don't want to ruin it.
It's
But the
it's
buds are
so
really good.
cute. He's odd because he can't even.
I can't even. That's how we
Love
do it.
it.
Hey, Aditya's in the chat. I see a whole
Hey,
bunch
what's
of
up,
our friends in there.
Aditya?
We have Michael, Aditya, Farhan's in the chat, and we see Michael Corrigan in there, and Gabuletta's in there as well. Barry Johnson, Michael Peppertech,
Yeah, we got a good crew.
Greg. Yeah, dude. Thank you for everybody for taking your time. Of your obviously Thursday evening, or depending where you are, to hang out with us, because I know Aditya is already kind of in Friday, so he's ahead of us quite a bit. So thanks, Aditya, for kicking it with us.
Time traveling into the future.
And-
But
yeah,
I gotta say this has been sort of a refreshing change of pace.
yeah.
Looking at phones that I think are good crossover devices. There is I feel like there's a quiet but growing argument for a specific type of gamer who might be looking at a one purchase. Maybe they don't want to buy a cheaper phone and a Nintendo Switch for some of the games that they really like to play. I think increasingly we're getting to that point where even for some of the because there are gaming compromises using your phone. It's things like you're constantly managing multiple power settings. If you nuke your battery, that also nukes your communication. So I mean, you having to deal with distractions while you're trying to focus on your entertainment. Obviously, there are still some pain points in that mobile gaming experience, but playing with some of these phones that can really do some surprising things with game performance up and above what we would expect from a Nintendo Switch. I think we're getting to that point where it's really not that crazy of a consideration for someone to say, hey, I want to spend like $700 on one of these as opposed to buying a Nintendo Switch and a much lower tier smartphone to go with it. I feel like we're kind of there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And before I forget, because it just popped into my head, any information on the Steam Deck?
This week on Steam Deck Watch, Juan obsessively goes through all of those weird online communities that say they can predict based on your pre-order ID code when your order will ship and has found no satisfaction. I have no idea when that thing's going to arrive.
It reminds
still
me
says
of when
I'm
I was
this
waiting
quarter,
for
though.
this quarter? The one that wait, hold on. Oh no, yeah, we started. Okay,
Yeah.
I was going to say, but like, wait, didn't we just finish a quarter? Yeah, we did. No, I'm saying it because it reminded me when I was waiting for my Tesla. Because back in, was like last year when we ordered, there was that.
Yep.
It's 30 days or over like 30 days, but it still felt like it was an eternity. And I was on boards and stuff like that. And everybody was predicting. I was like, okay, mine is ordered this with F. If you have an F letter in there, that means it's going to be coming from Fremont, and then you can like, oh, come on. But I know whenever the hotness does actually show up, I know that you will be definitely very happy. And from what I've seen at least so far, we definitely should try hooking up an external eGPU to this thing and seeing what we can do with an RTX 3080.
I'm tempted.
I want you to run Doom in full settings.
So the process actually doesn't look as bad as what I thought it would be, but you do have to gut the Steam Deck, pop out the built-in storage, use that as your PCIe lanes to connect the eGPU, and then you've got to find an operating system that run off of the SD card, and then you're horrifically CPU limited, and I still want to do it so bad. Just to do it. It's insane that kind of like that level of hardware hacking. Just because you can.
3080 Ti, bro. I mean, come on. It'll be like one of those flexes. You walk into a room, you have the Steam Deck, but then you have a massive box coming in with like a strap on the back. No. Let's play.
Now I need mains outlet. Do you have a washer and dryer circuit I can hook up to?
I was told I need a 240 amp. But no, speaking of the car, there is a good. I don't know. I can say all I want because it's not me predicting it, but I was told that the car should be, or the battery that's being replaced should be delivered to them on Tuesday, and they said they only needed a day to get it installed. So hopefully by Wednesday afternoon,
Okay.
I I will be rejoining, the existence that is Goku, and we'll be able to bring him back.
Love
So
it.
yeah,
Well, I'm glad to hear it because for a while there, it sounded like the original estimate was going to be way further out.
yeah, 6 weeks. I was like, what are you? I mean, and honestly, I didn't think it was going to be that hard, but they just don't stock the new batteries. Apparently, I think they stock probably batteries for older cars that are more likely to have this issue, but mine was a
Yeah.
weird situation. So, but yeah, so hopefully next week, by the time we talk again on Thursday, I will be in a much more happy, or even happier mood.
Dig it.
Yeah, or maybe even the car. Um, but yeah, so one of the other things that also came to happen, I mentioned to you earlier, Android 12 finally landed on the Xperia Pro I
Mm-hmm.
here, and not a lot of differences other than, I mean, what we've seen already with the 1 Mark III and the 5 Mark III. It's basically very much more closer to Material U, but not exactly. We're not getting any of the Material
Yeah,
U
so Sony's
features.
not spending any ounce of effort
No,
on like fancy skins or anything. So whatever tool, whatever basic tools Google is delivering as part of the operating system itself, it
yeah,
seems to be all Sony is really trying to accomplish. What I think is funny, everyone who complains about the notification shade only having 8 toggles when you
toggles.
slide down on your quick toggles, that's actually an improvement for Xperia owners who used to only have 6. When you would swipe down again, you would only get 6
Get six.
toggles, even though they were way smaller. So we actually improved
The
the
button is actually.
density of control
I
screen
actually, the
resolution.
one-handed functionality of it is very nice, and the fact that the settings at the bottom is no longer at the top, you're able to click on it. You can actually access it.
Yeah.
I like the ergonomics of it.
I'm being real cheeky, but I mean, I've got it on the Xperia 1 Mark II, and you're like, yeah, I'm digging it. No, I
Yeah,
actually do think that this, funnily, it wasn't as much of an improvement, and I understood why people got real cranky on Pixels and on some of these other phones that had like different or more customized UI for things like the notification toggles. It's just funny. It it was an improvement over Sony's stock experience to go to Android 12 and see this Material U layout actually add more functionality to that surface area.
yeah. And utilize it for what it's worth, because of the longer, skinnier form factor, you get better control. But so that was a very nice thing for I woke up on, I think it was like Wednesday, and I was like, hey, I got the update.
Hey,
There was
because
also
I
another.
know. I mean, like even as like late last week,
Mhm.
we were still like, "What the heck? This is too expensive of a phone to
I
be kind of held into
and
this
I
much of a
wasn't
holding
really, yeah,
pattern."
and I didn't really think like they would have so many customers that are, yeah, that would have so many variations. I mean, I would assume,
Yeah,
the 1 Mark III, the 1 Mark, the 5 Mark II, Mark IIIs, and all those typically go to multiple regions. The Pro I wasn't really, I didn't, it was a very more niche of an experience, right? It's intended to work with the camera, with the display on the back, with the grip, and a whole bunch of different things.
yeah.
We never got any of those features when we got Android 12 on the 1 Mark III. So the biggest thing that I feel like I was looking for here is what improvements they were going to add. That was primarily it. Software experience, one-handed functionality, Android 12. But I think everything else for the most part stayed the same. We got obviously the controls, the toggles to turn off camera and
Sure.
microphones and stuff. But it's a solid phone. Battery, I'm still kind of a couple of days into it, so I'm going to see how that goes. I am, on the other hand, I will say, real quickly, um, Samsung's having some kind of problem with their Android, with their updates within the last month in April. We've
Hmm.
received 4 updates, and I'm still having battery problems with the phone. Like the battery drain is
No,
much stronger.
I was reading on someone else's blog about how amazing Samsung software is that all of these updates reportedly fix the problems you're having. So you must
In one,
have a
yeah.
bad
So four
phone
updates in one month makes perfect sense. That's how they
and
were going to
well,
fix
I
it.
mean, but that's also, Samsung does the best updates.
The
So
best is the best.
if
It's my
Samsung
fault
has to put out 4 updates, then other phones are worse.
because they don't put out any. No, it's surprising the amount of updates I was getting in 1 month. I was like, how
I
often?
I know I'm the Samsung hater guy, but this is one of the things that frustrates me about how we report on this stuff is we don't do a great job following up. We get the update, we look at the notes, if there are any notes, and then we just kind of regurgitate whatever the PR was for that. And so when Samsung is putting out numerous smaller OTAs like that, as an old school engineer software head, my mom's got, a master's in computer science, like that's not a good sign. That to me seems like a division that's scrambling to try and get ahead of some of the issues with this product, and they're rapidly kind of dog fooding these fixes with paying customers. It doesn't look as aggressive, but genuinely, I mean, with the exception of the Pixel 6, like you wait a month and then a Pixel update comes out and stuff genuinely gets better and new features come to the phone. That to me is the hallmark of like a patient application of software improvement that doesn't seem like it's scrambling or reacting. I am grossly oversimplifying for what billion-dollar corporations are going through with the divisions and the teams that all have to work together, coordinate on this stuff, push stuff out to carriers. This is not easy. And I'm not just trying to say like, oh, well, Samsung sucks. But I don't think Samsung has been putting out better software over the last 2 years. I just think they put out more software. And it's such a flurry of activity, it's kind of hard to pin down when there are systemic issues with Samsung products versus someone who just has a bad unit or a defective unit or really just needed to get their phone sent in and maintenance or replaced. But that kind of caught some type of a conversation and got blown up by an echo chamber. This is to me not a good software delivery strategy, and I really wish Samsung would follow like Motorola's or even Google's example and put more of their individual components like let them update directly either through the Samsung App Store or through Google Play. Because this OTA strategy that they've got right now where you kind of roll big chunks of the phone into an OTA and then small little patches come here, Google Play services comes there. Google is updating individual components, but we know Samsung heavily customizes everything about their UI. I don't think the South Korean strategy has legs. I think this is absolutely an aspect of Samsung software support that needs to die in favor of something that's more nimble, that's more adaptive, and that can react better than the way that they're currently pushing out updates.
No, I absolutely. And I can see that they're scrambling. This is the first thing that kind of hit me. It was more about what's going on and what's happening. But then the first couple didn't really do much for me and they weren't really doing much on the system. So we're like, oh, it's okay. Everything's good. By the third one, though, my battery started to drain massively, like much faster. I couldn't get to maybe half a day and I had to actually put it back on the charge. It drops under 50. And I typically go through all day and then until the next morning and I have 30% and I can't do that. So,
well, I want to hit this from Farhan.
Yeah.
It brings up an interesting question. Would you rather have minor multiple updates or one major update? I'll go first. I want as many individual components of the operating system and the specific hardware of the phone and the technologies of the phone to be updated individually as fixes arrive. It's interesting to me that literally even Qualcomm is starting to update very small parts of their SoC. The Qualcomm voice assistant is a part of their AI stack. That is now being updated directly to phones through Google Play. So to me, the future of software support on Android should not look like Apple OTAs. It should look like a flurry of little app updates in Google Play so that no matter what component of your phone is being addressed, if there is a fix, if there is a security threat, if there is a patch, or if there's just a feature improvement, as soon as it's done, it can be pushed out to your device directly, free of interaction from the manufacturer, from the carrier, or from any other entity.
I actually second that motion. I think this is how it should be because the way we have it right now, it is the system is somewhat broken. I feel like in a little bit, especially if you have a carrier version of the phone, right? If you're buying unlocked, you may have a
Yeah,
little bit of better
it gets real
situation.
bad with the
Well,
carrier
because you're
versions.
having to go through so many stops, right? I mean, normally you have Google releases the software, right? We get a new version of Android, or we get like the security patch update for insert month name. But then OEMs have to put that on, they have to put their own customizations and put that out. So there's already a setback. Samsung's been really good about it because I think they get to work with Google a little bit more. Um, but then insert, T-Mobile in this situation. The last update, there was 4 that were released in April. I still haven't released the 4th one because T-Mobile has to receive it, has to install their stuff, add their own information in there and all the other stuff that they normally add, and then they can push this update back to us for us, the users of the device. One of the things I really regret doing this time is going with the T-Mobile variant of it. I had stopped going locked devices for so long, but the $200 discount that I was able to get with the T-Mobile was just too compelling.
For sure.
And now I'm paying for it as opposed to where you're realistically, it's weird. Like you're paying for it either way. You save the money, but you pay for it in time.
Right.
And um, so I think smaller updates pushed directly through the Google Play Store make perfect sense. And to Qualcomm's situation that you were explaining before, they started also allowing us to update GPUs drivers specifically on their, or even on the 888. We didn't see much of
Yeah.
it. They
I
they announced it, and I think Samsung may have been one of the devices that they used to get it, but
I I want to say it might have been Xiaomi, I think was one of the more aggressive in updating. I can't remember. But I was hoping to see more activity there.
yeah, I wanted to actually
But
see, like more performance, more or better performance.
but
But
like I haven't updated anything on my Moto
Mhm.
for about a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had the phone down for almost 5 days. Android Accessibility Suite, carrier services, every single Google app has some type of small or minor update.
Speaking of which, I don't think I updated after here on my Xperia.
And then outside of that was all of the stuff that we talked about. Was it 2 weeks ago or three
Hmm.
weeks ago? Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago for our podcast, where camera updated separately, camera firmware updated separately, Android intelligence services and updated separately. There was the other guy, I can't remember now what that one's called, but it's now we're getting to like 6 or 7 individual compartmentalized app updates that no longer require a full OTA.
Yeah.
And this is also one of the reasons why I'm a little more concerned about Samsung's, is because Samsung still doesn't do that split storage for your
No,
update,
no, it's not
which
an AB.
means
Yeah.
if you get 4 OTAs back to back to back to back, that is increasing the likelihood of one of those updates borking, and you don't have a system that
Backup.
keeps
Yeah.
a backup
A
in
B part,
reserve when you're
a
trying to
B
do that. So
partition.
if it
Absolutely.
fails correctly, you're fine. But if it borks in any other way, and it's not common, I'm not saying this is something like that should motivate a purchasing decision, but it should absolutely be something you pay attention to when you're going through that many updates in such close proximity, that there is a not insignificant chance that when something fails, it fails in a way that will be slightly more painful because Samsung is doing something old and now, which is very unconventional in not giving you a system partition to keep a backup of your operating system while it installs an update. And it's that kind of thing. Like, we keep pointing to these little issues in these little areas where Samsung's method of getting this stuff done and out to consumers isn't necessarily the best way to do it. And I think we've got good data that their competitors are actually starting to lap Samsung
Hmm.
on that kind of support.
Yeah. No, and I think this is the concern that I keep looking at, and I always, like, you always wonder is like, when do they realize what they're doing is really not helping? It's not something that people are either appreciating. If you remember, with last year or the year before, when I lost my motherboard, where I was flashing
Hmm.
my BIOS, and it was a simple BIOS flash, and that borked my entire motherboard. My system was entirely down. I was out of a computer for how long? Because that computer specifically, or that motherboard, did not have a backup, a B partition backup for the BIOS for instances just like that. every other device does it, and for some reason, yeah, Samsung still sticks to the we know better, and you should just go for the Samsung way. It is the way.
So I wholly expect, like, when we're going through these, and especially getting into Android 12, we should talk a little bit about Android 13.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
beta is out now
absolutely.
too.
Yeah, a little
It's
bit ahead of Google I/O, and
yeah,
typically it's done at the same time. But yes, it's nice. It's nice to see that it's a little ahead.
but it's incredibly difficult, or it's incredibly challenging to get a good bead. So we go to the forums or we go to the subreddit, and you can see everybody has problems. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what phone. It's increasingly difficult to see, like, is this literally a systemic issue with this phone and this software? How is the manufacturer responding to it? Or is the manufacturer trying to hide a systemic issue with this
Hmm.
phone or with this software? And increasingly, I actually kind of feel like Google has earned a little goodwill
Hmm.
because they pulled a massive update for the Pixel 6. And
The
since
December
then,
update. Yep.
the 6 Pro has been running phenomenally well.
Pretty
Not to
well.
say it's perfect, because no computer is, but those massive stability issues that we had after the December update, we've not seen anything like that. I can't say the same for a Samsung, because I genuinely can't get a good handle on who's just complaining and who's got a real issue, and is this real issue replicatable.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with OnePlus. Again, on the OnePlus 9 Pro, going from Android 11 to Android 12, massive stability issues. And yet now, my OnePlus 9 Pro is one of the better consistent performers on Android 12 that I've got in my collection,
Hmm.
barring some of the newest phones that are actually on 12L. Again, it's so hard. This is such an aggressively fast moving target
Yep.
that I wouldn't necessarily be able to predict. But going from the Galaxy S20 to the 21 to the 22,
Yeah.
I'm increasingly concerned with the largest Android manufacturer's current strategy feeling so old fashioned compared to the rest of the market right now.
No, it's maybe the best way to say it. This is just how Samsung. This is the Samsung, man. It's the best. You need to
Well, I
accept
mean,
the
if you
Samsung.
know better, why don't you just go make your own phone and sell 100 million of them? How about that?
Or we could just make a nice, really nice custom ROM to just take over and fix the whole problem. It is realistically at the end of the day, it's more about um, the level of control that Samsung's imposing in here, the level of control the OEMs have on devices, like this much, the amount of what I want to say, the amount of control that T-Mobile has over the S22 Ultra
It's kind
was
of gross.
crazy. It was
Yeah.
weird. Like you couldn't activate the phone if you didn't have a SIM card from them first. So that was the first kicker. I'm like, okay, I have one
No,
that's
my favorite was
installed.
when it just started installing apps for you.
Oh my
That's the
God.
best part
And
right
and and
there.
and then later, and as time goes, so I went in there, I disabled the app installer, and then I disabled all the other apps in there. But then it still
Right.
came back. It still came back by itself. It reinstalled, it reinstated itself, and started to optimize and send me, oh, these applications will help you improve the performance of your phone. And it was literally Facebook, and I think it was LinkedIn or something. It was spam. It was literally spam. But I finally figured out, not figure out. I found a method to be able to disable it permanently on the system. This is by disabling the actual source app in there in the system files. So the the just the level of control that we get, that OEMs get. And this is also kind of permeates into what we got here with the Nord N20. The current
Yeah.
version is a T-Mobile and a Metro version only. Unlocked one are not going to be available for some time. It did a very much the same experience, telling me, app selectors installed, all of it seems like this is the new suite of T-Mobile apps that you just
Yeah.
get, and it starts installing and updating and recommending and all of that good
So,
stuff.
I
So,
mean, individual manufacturers, like, there's something on Vivo where they've got their own, like, app selector, app store thing that's building right
during the
now.
setup process, yeah, but they
Yeah.
don't try to force you
No,
later
but
on and tell
so
you this is a
when
great
you
thing.
shut it down, though, it just stays shut down.
Yeah.
It's not like what T-Mobile is doing and, like, zombie reviving it for you after you reboot your phone. But I kind of want to use this to shift gears, as we've been sort of talking about a couple different devices and software.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a dork, and I left my Pixel 5 in the bedroom where I had just finished installing
Android thing.
at the 13 beta.
Yeah.
So TK, what have your experiences been on Android 13? Because I can't hold up a prop.
No, I think overall I mean Android 13 is it's nice. For me, it feels like it just feels like Android 12 realistically, with a few minor modifications or updates into the
Yeah.
like the ability of being able to have haptics when you put your phone on silent. Some
Mhm.
of that got fixed in the beta, which was kind of a little bit borked in when you were in the alpha stages. I think overall for me, it's nice, it's good, it's stable. It was actually surprisingly stable. It wasn't crashing, and we've been seeing that kind of a trend going on with earlier generations of Android 12, 11 and 12. They've been more consistently stable. I am running it on the Pixel 4a, so I'm not running it on anything like super powerful, but I feel
Yeah.
like the 4a is the champ that could. It keeps going and it keeps going and going. So it's
Such a
still
good phone.
for such a and it's such a small phone, but
Yeah.
it does such an amazing job. So my thing would be is, if you are interested in installing it and you have a Pixel, it's an easy process. Use the web tool, download it, install it. Make sure you're running the latest software update on your current version.
For
Uh,
sure.
but the reality, it's still a little bit early. I still want to see some of the new features. So I'm thinking maybe beta 2, maybe a little bit more, new features added, more things. We'll see what the roadmap is. IO is going to be in another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking, okay, the 10th is, if I'm not mistaken. So the reality is we're not getting a lot right now, but we want to see what Google's vision is for Android 13,
Sure.
what they want to do, what the new features are going to be
So
happening.
I kind of feel I'm trying to be fair.
Hmm.
Um, Again, someone out there call me the Android shill here. Being fair, it seems to me like through Android 13, this is the mandatory refining year
Yeah,
that we need to have after how
12 was
painful. So 10 to 11 was not seamless.
no.
I had numerous phones that required. It wasn't like, oh, there were some little bugs and gremlins and they got ironed out. They required hard resets. The LG V60 required a hard reset. My Xperia 1 Mark II required a hard reset on that update.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like 12L was the real version of Android 12 that Google probably wanted to
Yeah,
launch with the Pixel 6. And to me, it kind of feels like, so we got an Android 12 that was a little incomplete. 12L is really 12.1,
one.
and 13 really needs to be 12.2.
Yeah,
And now we'll have the real version of Android 12 that we should have gotten last
last year.
year.
But I think in reality, so the thing about it is, obviously we have hindsight now, right? We can see it, and we can see how the things and evolutionary
Yeah.
is going to think. 13 for sure is not going to be the earth shattering that 12
No.
was. And I think that's the biggest thing about it, is this is the year where they refine, they improve, they add a few tweaks
Well,
here and
and
there.
just fixing those things that kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
got broken in Android 11. Like I've been hearing people see, this is one of those things where I've got a blind spot. I'm
Mhm.
not a big fan of looking at my phone's lock screen. I don't care about media player controls. I am the guy who wears a smartwatch just so I can avoid stuff like that. So I can appreciate where people were upset about 11 to 12 and some of that functionality not being directly
Exactly.
consistent
Yep.
from update to update. But now it seems like 13 is bringing back, or at least polishing up,
Yeah.
some of those rough edges. And that to me, it's not progress. It's just getting us back to where we were the year before. But at
It,
least that makes it a nicer experience for people that liked those features.
yeah. No. And again, but you want to keep in mind that this is still a beta, and the problem that we've had in the past, betas and features that you have in betas and alphas don't necessarily always mean that you're going to get it at the end. So we want to be
Yeah.
very mindful of what we're looking at. So the security updates, that the usability security updates, the media control playback options that we're looking in here, these are all minor tweaks. But as you said, improvements to where they should have been, when 12 was announced and released. And
Yeah.
right now, again, you're only going to get it on Pixel devices. But I'm hoping, being that we jumped into the beta, that OnePlus is going to announce that they're alpha. Because
Yeah.
but I don't know. The whole color OS conversation may change that approach, because typically that's what happens, at least in the years past, where we start seeing the alpha builds of Android 13, and that's where we get a chance to check out desktop modes, because
Yep.
OnePlus devices allow you to use it. Um, so it's definitely very interesting. I'm still holding my excitement to see what Google announces in a couple of weeks or so.
For
So
sure.
I/O is a hybrid experience this year, virtual and in person. But I think the presenters are there, but everybody else is remote, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong, but I think that's the hybrid that they decided to go with. Googlers will be there, and everybody else will be online. Um, and I like to see what happens. I like to see what some of the new announcements and directions. Maybe I want to see more improvements in Android Auto. And I want to see better improvement with assistant automation. I want to
Yeah.
be able to finally see that teased. Although this has nothing to do with 13, but I want to see Samsung allowing us to use the assistant on the Galaxy Watch 4. Finally, I want
Why
I
would
want
you
to hear.
need that, TK? Samsung has a perfectly functional voice assistant on their watch.
I
And you just
I
need to
I
accept that Samsung knows better than you,
it
and that's how you're
yeah.
supposed to use it.
But I also want to finally get a Watch OS 3, Wear OS 3 on the TicWatch. We're almost in the middle of the 2022. It came out last
When
year in
yeah,
October, and we're
TicWatch,
still
we're only a couple months away from the year anniversary of that watch not having Wear
the
OS
Wear OS
3,
3,
and
which and it is support and it is been
it
told that
was
it is
built to support.
supported.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's
No,
so
I'm increasingly like, again, when massive corporations make business moves like that, it doesn't make me inclined to support the people who benefit from those business moves.
yeah,
And
no,
so,
absolutely.
because I'm the Samsung hater dude, I was actually waiting on the Samsung watch until I could directly compare Wear OS 3 on a Tick watch or a Fossil, just to say, like, well, this is the Samsung flavor and this is how Wear OS 3 is going to function on another watch, and you can see. So it's actually held me off from buying the
Well,
Samsung because
I
I wanted it to be fair.
and
It's getting kind of frustrating out there for
a little
alternative
well,
alternative brand fans.
the reason that I'm kind of a little bit also in that point with you, because we're starting to see not rumors, we're starting to see leaks of what the Pixel Watch is going to look like, right?
Yep.
So it seems like maybe the narrative is going to be where Samsung has the exclusivity, I think, to a certain point, and then Pixel is the one that unlocks it to everybody else. Or I don't know if they're going to hold exclusivity as well. But we're starting to see very good, clear images of the hardware. The hardware is actually
Yeah.
final. We see the watch straps and so on, and a whole bunch of things.
It
So
looks so nice. It looks
this is, like
nice.
I said, this is why I'm thinking IO is going to be a lot more. There's going to be some hardware conversations going on.
Yeah.
We should be very soon or very close to the Pixel 6a at some point, a very, very near future. If not at IO, I mean, they did it at some point, but the last couple of years have always been doing it shortly after. It means the Pixel 6a is not too far off. Um, yeah, Google needs to add HDMI output on Chrome OS and Chrome OS. I think that would be an amazing feat if they allow us to have Chrome OS as a side as an HDMI output format from a smartphone. Since we know it can run it, but
What with this amazing SoC that can run laptop grade performance numbers, it'd be nice. Just
it would.
saying.
I say yeah, maybe
No, I agree. I think, and I'm hoping we'll also maybe get a tease on Pixel Fold.
yeah.
I don't know that that's ready for prime time. I'm increasingly, again, it's I had just a little brief exchange with Jason T. Lewis, Painfully Honest Tech,
Tech.
on Twitter. He posted a video just saying, like, his Z Flip split in half, the screen cracked.
Oh wow.
And he was like, I wasn't doing anything crazy with it. Obviously, techies are probably heavier users. And there's this kind of ongoing conversation about plastic screens. It's a different kind of conversation about durability and how you handle the gadget and what our expected life cycle on something
Yeah.
like that should be. And so I tweeted him back and, like, said, hey man, I'm really sorry to hear that. And I shared his video, and then also made a little quip about, like, I've said it before, I'll say it again, do not go into buying a phone with a hinge or a folding screen unless you're okay putting your money, or I said throwing your money at a public hardware beta. And a bunch of people are like, well, I guess that means you don't recommend people buy the Duo then, do you? And you're like, did I stutter? I've never said the Duo is ready to be a mainstream replacement for every smartphone, asshat. This is the same thing. It's like, as soon as you complicate the engineering or the structural format of a phone, you have to know you are not buying something that is nearly as mature or as well polished as a standard slate device.
Yeah.
And I don't like marketing, I don't like advertising and PR that makes it sound like this thing that folds and bends and twists is totally just like the regular phone you had before, because that is absolutely not true. I know a lot of people have had great experiences with their folds and their flips. I genuinely believe they are unconscious of how much different they handle that device than they used to handle a traditional slate phone. The second I pick up a Duo, I am actively using it differently
Yeah.
than a traditional slate phone.
Well, it forces you to
I
use it differently, but yeah, no, exactly.
but I also like I am making conscious decisions to not do things with that phone that I take for granted on a normal slate device. And that needs to be a part of the conversation, where if you want to rely on it, daily lifestyle, compute companion, chuck it into the side of, the passenger seat of your car, back pocket it from time to time. I've accidentally sat down on phones and they've all survived, even though I've got a Faraday cage of a rear. This is
Oh,
like
crap,
stuff
yeah.
that I take for granted that I absolutely never do with my Duo 2. So that expression, I want to see the tease for a Pixel Fold. I'd love to see what Google is working on there. I'm
Yeah.
super anxious about the Pixel Watch design being glass wrapped around,
Spherical too.
because
It's curved glass on the edges, which is, I mean,
I crack my wrist against doors and frames and everything, and having like either a really good polycarb or a good metal casing, excuse me, has saved my watches so many times. I'm very anxious about an all glass face like that. I don't know. I want to see what Google can do to keep their hardware conversation more public, more visible, higher priority.
yeah.
It obviously did well for the Pixel 6. That is
Mhm.
now the best-selling Pixel phone of all time. A little bit of advertising goes a long way. Or I should say, a lot of bit of
I
advertising
was going to
goes a
say,
long
yeah,
way.
there was a mountain load of advertising done, which is something that I think Google should have done years ago. This is, it's almost like maybe this is the one they truly believed in or something. Like I said, this is like we should really push this one. Uh, I think what we get right now is that Google is stepping up and they're really shifting gears and they're trying to focus heavily on their mobile experience or the mobile division. So the Pixel 6, as you said, a very popular device. Pixel 6 Pro, in my opinion, still has some nice edges over the 6 that make it more appealing to me specifically.
Yeah.
But I like what Google's doing in owning up, taking responsibility for updates that don't work, and going in there and trying to fix things. And they're not basically shying away. But what I look for though in a foldable or in a in a dual displayed device is very different
Yeah.
than what we look for a standard glowing rectangle in any shape or form.
Yeah, we got Gabaletta and
Yeah,
Farhan just mentioning like so Gabaletta is saying Google should avoid making a foldable and concentrate on. So I just turned on like 5 phones on my desk, just by saying the G word.
the,
Here's kind of my feelings on it.
yeah,
I feel Google should be taking a page out of Microsoft's playbook.
okay,
The Surface team is not one of the top 5 sellers in the PC marketplace.
okay,
They're a very small player, but it's a very high aspirational. They guide the discussion of hardware. They influence the design of other companies. And if we're really going to claim that folding displays are the next phase of mobile device, then I feel Google needs to get out ahead of it and actually drive the conversation, or Android's going to fall even further behind on advanced modes, folding modes, and tablet modes, where Android has been like completely invisible to the conversation of tablets over the last 5 years. Like Samsung makes a great tablet, Android does not make a great tablet or make for a great tablet. So if Google doesn't want to miss out on the next phase of whatever this is going to look like, they need to go into it, but they also need to go into it kind of with the same conversation and expectation that we celebrate the Surface team as a success.
Yeah.
People don't sit there and pan Surfaces for their market share. They talk about what the Surface has done to guide the development of Windows and Microsoft services, and that's the victory. And I feel like techies get all caught up in, did I buy the mostest popular version? I want to be on the winning team. I always knew that was a gimmick. That's why I didn't put my money on it. And you were never going to buy it anyway because you wanted the more popular phone, and that's fine. But if we can at least acknowledge, like, there is a success to be had if the division is profitable and is selling units and has good support, and then that drives the next iteration of what their competitors are able to achieve, then that's good for everybody. If Google completely sits out the hardware conversation, then we lose a very important voice in guiding the direction of our phones. Whether they don't sell the best, but Pixel phones help drive the conversation on what a Slate phone should accomplish. I think Google needs to have a seat at the table, a public consumer-facing solution that can help guide the discussion on what the next phase of folding and tablet use are going to look like.
I like I said, I think it would. I mean, as you said, I think it would be a good early look. I think probably that's the best way to say it. I think this is going to be, if anything, an early look at a foldable from them, because I feel like we're still not at the cusp of where the hardware. I'm not talking about necessarily just software, right? Because Google does really good with the software department, and they can definitely provision hardware to work great with their software. But the hardware right now, I feel like, is still in that experimental phase. Things like, a Z Flip 3 or Z Flip 4 breaking in half or something like that. That's something that you should not have to plan for or be looking out for on a phone that you're dropping $1,000 on, right?
Yeah.
I know it's cheaper. I know it's more affordable now, but the reality at the end of the day is, if that happens to you on any phone, your experience is pretty much shot. You're not going to buy a phone like that, specifically with that form factor again, because again, there's just the durability factor.
And also, I mean, I have that like techie liberal guilt, right? Think about all of the resources and the manufacturing and the labor that went into making that thing. And we know that by design, with the components that are meant to flex and bend and crimp on themselves and have seams where they fold, they cannot possibly live up to the same durability standards as a more traditional, more mature Slate phone can. So we're going into this saying, like, even under the best situation, oh no, my screen snapped. Good thing I spent all this extra money on insurance, and Samsung's going to overnight me a phone, and that's great. But over that same period of time, would a Slate phone under similar use have become e-waste nearly as quickly? And I do not believe, statistically, for the number of people that are going to have issues with plastic displays versus a more traditional phone, that can ever hold true. So we just have to be fine with a higher failure rate and more technology waste generated by that business practice. And that makes me kind of cranky. If we wanted to say that this was like a public beta, and that's what we were advertising, and Samsung was really gathering experience on this, and they were selling a very limited number of units, it's kind of Google Glass style invitation, something like that, I'd be fine.
I missed that. But
if we weren't trying to say millions of these things should be going out in traditional sales channels, and we were saying, hey, we've got to put out hundreds of thousands of them to see where we need to improve our manufacturing, to see where we need to improve our support, where we need to get components and distribution and repair, that'd be great. But that's not the conversation Samsung's having. Samsung is trying to sell us something they say is the same and ready for prime time, just like any other phone, and that cannot be true. That is absolutely inaccurate and is just marketing feel good gobbledygook. Because I'm pretty hard on all my phones except for the ones with hinges, and I'm
I,
really light on those phones.
and I will say though the Duo 2 and even the first Duo feel very solid. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
it is still glass on a hinge kind of a situation,
Sure.
but to me, after you get
You,
over
you
the
know,
whole first
you
holding
know
it
what
and like
I'm.
feel like,
So
yeah,
I'm just gonna cut you off right there. You know what I'm never going to do on my Duo 2 is dig my Duo 2 into the dirt to get a snail shot from ground level like I
uh,
take for granted on my Vivo X70 Pro Plus.
yes.
I don't even think about it. I see a cool snail shell, sunlight lights hitting it. I want that really beautiful macro shot into the dirt. That phone just gets ground into the sand.
Shovel
I'm
mode.
good with that. I actually, hold on, let me see if I've got,
Vivo
I
X70 Pro
found,
Plus shovel mode. That's fun.
so yeah, Vivo X70 Pro Plus, I found a glass screen protector. It's terrible. It ruins the fingerprint sensor. I already have, I don't think I'll be able to show this on camera. I already have a half moon
Right.
crack in the glass
So what that
from
was
the
the same.
last time I
Okay,
dug the phone down into the dirt.
but that's the
I
same
dug
spot.
it
I
into a
had the
rock.
the
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 screen
the
protector did
issue.
its job,
Yeah,
but I've already wrecked it. I mean, it took me a week to get this off eBay. I'm gonna have to go and order another one.
that's what you should have done. You should have ordered a whole bunch. Actually, specifically, I'm getting ready to push out a video for a glass protector for the OnePlus 10 Pro,
Yeah.
which, as you can imagine, also works on the Find X5 Pro very nicely.
Hey.
So I got a glass protector
Which
on two
which
devices.
one did you use?
I went with Dome. So Whitestone Dome
Oh,
glass.
the dome.
They
I'm gonna buy
finally
one of those. I
they
I know
they
they've
they
they've been
pushed it
kind
out.
enough to send me a few in the past, but like
Yeah, yeah.
I've gotten enough spares from them. I really should just put my money on them because the company's
But
been doing great work on
they
these recent
absolutely.
protector kits.
Installation very easy, very simple. The one thing I would probably say though is before you go running and buying the 10 Pro's installation kit to buy it for the Find X5 Pro, is the frame case, the frame cage that they put the phone in to snap in, doesn't
Hmm.
match 100% OnePlus. So you do need to shut the phone down so that
Okay,
because the volume rocker hits one of the casings. So if you put it in without turning it off, it keeps pushing the volume up, and the display never turns off.
gotcha.
Long story short, it
Fair,
installed, it works great. It's exactly the same size panel. It's actually pretty much the same panel. We know, part spinning and all. But this is the
for
second
sure.
year OnePlus and Oppo share displays. The 9 Pro and the Find X3 Pro did the
They're
same,
good screens.
but they're good. Yeah. So if you're at Find X5 Pro, if Matt is in the chat, I don't think he's with us tonight, but I see Rolando's in the chat. Hope you're doing well, and I got CH Gadsden's in there as well.
What's good,
Um,
peeps?
just yeah, if you need one, just buy the 10 Pro. It'll work just fine. But yeah, so glass protectors are supposed to protect your phone. If you
I
decide to use
need
it in shovel mode, then that's what it's going to try to do.
I need to
Protect your
find
phone.
something for Vivos though, because
Well,
like
maybe
there
have
is
you thought about getting one
no
of those rugged
importing.
cases? Well, no. I mean, like you could probably get a what's it called? Poetic? No, I don't think maybe Poetic cases they make them, but like at least Poetic sent me a case that's like in a cage kind of almost for the phone, right? It
No,
gives you the
see,
front.
it's because I also have this issue with the iQOO,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that I like the iQOO case, and it would be nice if occasionally I could use it without a case, and then just have a
Nice
better screen
protection.
protector. It was actually kind of nice on the OnePlus 9 Pro because I've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
my Whitestone on that,
Mhm.
and I'll peel the case off and occasionally kind of baby it, handle it naked without a case. I need something like that for Vivo because it's all import,
Yeah.
and
No,
find
no.
trying to import and then you get kind of garbage, and then you're like, okay, well, I can't import that one, but if I buy from another buyer, is it just going to be the same screen protector garbage? It's really
Relabeled.
it's
Yep.
been a challenge, and for as much as I've been really enjoying my Vivos, I'm so terrified like that X70 Pro Plus, if it takes a tumble, I'm gonna be
I
so sad.
I
So
was very very careful with it. Like when I had it, and it was just like I know I took it with me to an event, but I babied that guy as much as I could because it was
sure.
just well, I mean, obviously
And
because
we
it's
still
your
had
phone, it's not.
But we still had the TPU protector on it that was already bubbling. And
Yeah, I know.
peeling.
That's what I'm saying. So
It
when
was
you're
so
saying that your
gross.
phone, your glass protector was cracking, that's where the TPU was peeling.
Hmm.
So um
Yeah, it
the
seems to be.
it seems to be an ID10T type of an experience. It's user error, I find.
Little bit.
Little bit.
But again,
As well know.
I am owning the fact that, like, when I say things like, hey,
Yeah.
I am rolling around in the dirt to get some of these flower macros. I love taking photos, like, you know, like Lex, I'm doing low angle and she looks like a superhero. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I am shoving my phone into dirt, into grass. Like, I am getting the shot if I want the shot,
Yeah.
unless my phone has a hinge on it. And then it's, let's be real careful with how I'm using this phone. It was the wing, it was the dual display cases from LG, it's the Duo, it was your Fold 3. I am obviously not using any of those devices like I take for granted. On even a phone that I'm concerned about, like my
Yeah. Yeah.
Vivo,
Hmm.
I'm still shoving that Vivo in the dirt because if I want the shot, that's exactly what that phone's built for.
Well, it's
If
built
that phone had a
solid though. The phone
hinge,
is solid. Yeah.
not so much.
No. But speaking of things that we can take advantage of and not feel too bad about, is those really bottom pricing that we got. No, just kidding. It's something like a device like this. Okay, right? So OnePlus finally announced, or not announced, but we talked about it briefly. But this is the heavily dusty, apparently, the OnePlus Nord
Ooh.
N20. It's the N20 5G. Um, it's an interesting design. At first glance, everybody kept telling me that this looked like an iPhone. Like, I get it.
Okay.
Yes, there's a heavy inspiration factor. The camera
Sure.
bump though looked different. Um, the the surprising factor of this, first and foremost, is it's selling for 282. It's an interesting price point. I haven't seen companies price something at a $282 type of, like, why is it not 280 and why is it not
Right.
290? Um, General impressions of the phone and experience with this honestly is very pleasing. It's powered by the Snapdragon 695 5G. It's a very capable smartphone in that 6 series experience. Obviously,
Hmm.
6 series means 1080p all around, no 4K, but you're getting pretty snappy UI elements and of course good functionalities on the cameras. This one actually
Sure.
has a primary sensor as a 64 megapixel camera, um, but I feel like the N20 is a little bit um, held back, and I feel like
Okay.
the tailoring of this experience. I'm trying to make it sound as objective as possible. I'm not trying to put the phone down. For 282, this offers a lot of great things, but there's a couple of things that I feel like OnePlus could have done to make it super sweet, super the right device for people to jump at without even thinking.
Okay.
We don't have stereo speakers, and we don't have a slightly higher refresh rate, so we don't have 90 frames per second. It's 60 frames per second locked with mono speaker at the bottom. This, I feel like, for the $300 mark, or close to $300, we should have seen those things added in there. And
Well,
then the
because I'm
cameras.
trying to think, like, in the markets where, because this has come to the United States
This
proper.
no, this is so right now it's on Metro and T-Mobile
Right.
exclusively for whatever amount of time, and then unlocked will come to OnePlus, and Amazon and Best Buy. They said in the near future, so they
Because
could be Q3. Yeah,
I'm trying to think, like, obviously in Europe, it's going to face real tough competition
much
from
higher. Yeah,
Redmi's and Pocos. But here in the United States, I mean, it's going to go up against a TCL 30.
probably the TCL 30,
So that's
the
a
XC.
Snapdragon 480.
Well, true, but then you're getting, well, and that also only has 60 frames per second refresh rate. I, what I
It's
was
tough,
trying
right?
to,
Because it's like I'm so used to being able to compare. Like we've just recently, both of us, we've been playing with a bunch of Pocos.
yeah, yeah,
Um, right now, sort
like
of the better,
The M4 Pro specifically can be it just, but then again, it's not
or
intended for the market. Yeah.
or the M4 Pro LTE, and boy, howdy, is
Yeah,
that a really nice phone.
yeah, from last year.
But I was really trying to break this down because for me the TCL 30 was like, oh yeah, okay, that seems a little high. I'm having a hard time finding something new that actually goes toe to toe with it here in the United
In
States.
the
It's
United
like you've
States,
got to go to a year older Moto Ace,
or
and
the
then you get a
4A.
765,
Yeah, the Pixel
or
4A
a Pixel. You're right,
Pixel
right.
4A would have been, and then even that had stereo speakers, but then that's again the Google thing. No, so the reason why I was so if you remember at the beginning of the statement, I said, I want to talk about how OEMs are involved in designs and so on. I truly believe that the N20 is intended for an OEM experience. I can see a lot of what this device can meet the expectations on a T-Mobile or on a Metro type of experience. It's
Mhm.
intended to be an entry level, not too expensive, not too cheap, feature packed that offers a decent experience, but not exactly the best experience, so that it doesn't take away shine from other devices. So for the
Sure.
282, it's better than, let's say, the Revel. It's better than some of the older LG options that we had maybe in there, and I
Yeah.
think being more
K
current.
series and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. So it definitely punches a higher, but what I see in it is, like I said, it's a very much tailored experience. No dual SIM option, obviously, since it's a T-Mobile variant. But yeah, I almost want to feel like, I think like if OnePlus released it by themselves without having a carrier relationship, maybe the N20 would have been a different flavor. And we'll
Fair.
have to see what they do with the unlocked model as well. So we'll see there. The one thing though I do want to say, I feel like a little bit, I did flow that up, that little bit of information up. The power management on for the processor on the N20. I feel like this is one device I feel like OnePlus should not have turned on, or given us the option of having high performance. Throttling the 695 I don't think is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's not like exactly super powerful phone. So when you're dropping the performance of a 695 to more of a 5 series or a 4 series, yeah, so
Not great.
I've had to basically keep the phone in performance mode the whole time for it to be as smooth as I know it should be, and it does
Yeah.
perform very well. Uh, but yeah, we'll see how that goes also, and it is going to get Android 12 at some point. It was promised one software update and what's it called, 3 years of security patch update. So it's a decent phone,
It's like, we'll give you one operating system update
which is
to
the
the
current
operating
one.
system of the year it should have already launched
I'm
with.
I'm surprised that it was released with Android 11. It's a little
I'm
bit.
not
Well, I mean,
anymore. I just mean, come on.
well, I'll
It's
say
getting
this:
silly, isn't
it's
it?
it's a confusing. No, it's getting confusing because you can't trace, or you can't follow connect the dots a little bit sometimes. I like the phone. I like what it offers, and I think it's a
Yeah.
great. Like
Fair.
I will not blink.
But this is the perpetual like mid-ranger hardware versus software conversation that we've been having for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, but this is like for the one time I would say, do not throttle this guy. Please give
Yeah.
us full potential. The 4,500 milliampere battery, we can so handle it and then some. You're not. This is not a type of a thing, but I'm glad that there is an option for us to turn it on, and it's not super buried that you can't figure it out. But once you know where things are, yeah, the experience on it is actually very nice. Gaming was pretty decent. The headphone jack actually was really nice. Like,
But also as we've been going through these successive generations, don't you think it's kind of interesting like 765 is still the gold standard
yeah,
of like a solid mid-ranger
2 years, 2 years
SoC.
later, almost 2 years.
Two
Yeah,
years.
the
And it's
765. Yeah,
still so good. I mean,
very
it's just
few took the
been great.
778. But yeah, like the Pixel 5 is still like serious contender. And even to this day, I mean, small, petite, snappy type of a device, wireless charging, large battery, a whole bunch of things. I mean, ticked off so many
Everything.
boxes.
Yeah.
But it's like I said. So for me, for the N20, it's definitely, if you're looking to pick up a phone on T-Mobile and Metro in the budget frame, it's the best budget phone that they have. It is literally the best. It could have been better based on like the previous generations, like I think of the N100 and the N200 they had, because those devices had better 90 frames per second refresh rate,
Sure.
stereo speakers. But I'm glad that the headphone jack is here. That at least gives me, no latency experience, good audio. I was
Yeah.
actually, I whipped out, just for the sake of nostalgia, the bullets, the wired bullets, on this, and I connected them in, and they work
They're
beautifully.
solid.
Yeah,
Have you tried plugging in any of your like IEMs just to see if they're
I
getting
didn't get a
driven well?
chance. No, so I wanted to put in like some of the KZs and stuff like that, but I did not. I
Do
got
you
the
have
phone.
any of the ecos?
I do have the.
I'd be curious to see how maybe like some OH10s, if you've got the opals or the gems.
I think I do have
Um,
either the gem or the opals. I forgot. And I'm really late on these. So yeah, I know I do have it right there.
I'd be curious. I mean, just to kind of hear your thoughts. Just it's been interesting to see like the phones that kind of handle that well. So
I'll have to, yeah.
like especially the one that kind of surprised me was the X4, the Poco X4, had a surprisingly
come back.
decent headphone jack DAC combo. Not audiophile grade by any LG stretch, but like on such an inexpensive phone, this is better than I thought I was gonna hear.
Yeah, but devices like this too. Don't forget, I always like using just using an MQA or
Cheater.
some. Yeah, well, no, but okay. I made this.
I mean, you're
I
saying
made this-
that, but I've got my Onyx like
Yeah, I
right
was
over
like,
here in arms.
they're always at arms. Well, no, but that's the beauty of them. These are the portable DACs that you do. You can buy a $200 phone and rock. And rock to you the best
Yeah.
tracks that you want on your favorite pair of buds. And that's the thing about it. You're able to enjoy it, and it's independent of the hardware because you're bringing your own DAC.
So you're talking about DAX, and I just broke out my
Oh,
Q3
Q3. Yep,
again,
I
my
have that
little
one as
FIO
well.
Q3, because coming soon. I am so Twitter pated. You're talking about companies that I'm turning into a shill for. I'm not going to be able to get a close up on the camera here, and also the foam ear tips are covered in earwax, so let's not do close up on that.
Funky
But
stuff.
these are the Odyssey Euclid.
Ooh,
These are $1,300 closed back planar magnetic earbuds in
whoa.
IEM casings. They're big chunky boys. Like the
Yeah,
fit
well,
is even a little tricky on my ears, and I've got pretty big ears. But I broke out the FIO because they also come with a balanced audio cable. So I would have been using these for the stream tonight, but I don't have a balanced input on my audio interface. So I had to go back to my Ecos for these for this stream. But I've been listening to quite a bit on them, and $1,300 is spendy for some earbuds, but I've genuinely heard nothing like these before. It is
are
a
you
wholly unique listening experience that I'm actually struggling to find language to kind of describe the emotional reaction of plugging these into my skull and hearing all the sounds that come out of them. They're pretty remarkable.
all the sounds that are
incredible.
sometimes maybe missed by others? No, so are you listening to anything specific, new album or anything like that, or are you just focusing on the same old playlist? Or
So I started with I always start with my playlist. It's like I
yeah.
know those tracks so well. And then I started listening to it kind of took me off in this direction on like classical and jazz.
Okay.
I let you borrow my Odyssey LCDs.
Yes.
So
those are good.
those open back
Yeah,
planar magnetics. The thing I was concerned about is that they're closed back, and closed back can get kind of muddy, or they can get kind of dull. And one of the beautiful things about the reaction from a planar magnetic driver is just razor wire articulation.
Yeah.
They're not the bass punchiest, but the bass attacks are always so scalpel clean that when you get to the rumble just stays completely out of the way of the other instruments in the mix. And Odyssey is known for making planar magnetic earbuds, but they've all been open.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like open. They look like something out of Star Trek. They looks like a spider web of plastic and metal is in your ear, but you're not blocking. They're not IEMs for like mixing or on stage performance. They're open earbuds.
Yeah.
These are closed, and they're doing things that I really wouldn't have thought closed back earbuds could be capable of. The soundstage is wider, the colors are brighter, the articulation in the mids and high mids is just crystal. The highs are present without being piercing. The bass doesn't have the same kind of rumble. And when you know the Q3 has the bass switch,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
you can toggle heavy bass mode. That sounds like garbage. You can't do it. In the Q3, it's really good. I mean, the DAC on that is solid, and the bass mode is great. Does not play well. with
Okay.
this as a planar magnetic, but it's just something else. Again, it's end game audio.
I
You
like it.
don't go into, as a novice, you don't go to the Euclid and say, "Hey, I want good music. I'll buy these $1,300 earbuds. Now I have the best." You start with some good KZ, and you
Yeah.
get some weird multi drivers. Maybe you get some CCA like C16s that
Hmm.
have a bunch of tiny little balanced arms, and then you get to this, which is one driver per ear again, but it's one planar magnetic driver, and it's just totally different, and it's kind of wonderful. So I really have some more critical listening to do outside of my playlist. I really want to play with some more rock and roll.
Hmm.
It gave me goosebumps on Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, nice.
Again, the mix on the very first album of Rage Against the Machine is so delicate, and so many people have listened to Rage Against the Machine with like mega heavy mega bass,
Hmm.
and that destroys all of the guitar work, because you can hear like the scalpel of distortion as the bass kicks in, as the lead guitar is riffing. You've got that like hip hop and funk influence
Oh
that's
man,
just
yes.
bouncing the whole time. And on these, it's like it's bright and it's colorful and it's punchy and it's aggressive and it's angry and it's loud, and you can hear everything, and it's just kind of brilliant. So
I'm glad. I'm glad
from
you're able to play around with those, and
I was
hopefully
just
we'll see
we
that
were
more.
bringing up DAX and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, I did get something new, and I can show off I'm still using the Q3.
Something new
But
that's not
yeah,
under embargo. Just kidding.
woohoo! But yeah, these have been out for a little while. They came out the end of last year,
Oh,
and so
that's not
they've
that
been
bad.
floating around for a bit.
That's a
But
quarter ago.
it's but, right.
Yeah, I know.
Tell my Steam Deck reservation. Um, but the whole thing about like this tier of audio is it doesn't cycle very aggressively. So
Yeah.
someone who would be interested in shopping planers from Odyssey, they might come to these years after they've been released and still be interested in that same product.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like microphones, right? I mean, it's a gold standard. You don't necessarily have to
Yeah.
update it every year. The SM57 was like a solid microphone. It is a solid, not was a solid mic.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that was released like how many years ago now? I
The
mean,
capsule design on the SM57 hasn't changed significantly. Well, actually, technically, it's the capsule design from the SM56, but that hasn't changed since the mid '60s. So, like Johnny
right.
Cash used to do a number of his recordings on
On
SM56,
Well, there you go.
and
That, you know,
that head element is basically the same.
keeping it real, keeping it real in 2022 from the 60s.
I
Oh,
mean, hey man, it works.
oh no, no, absolutely.
Same thing.
Don't get
Like
me wrong.
SM7B has been around for generations of recording engineers.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason to change it. People know
It,
what that mic sounds like.
and well, but that's the thing, is you can rely on what that mic sounds like, and I think that's the benefit there. um but one thing I do want to say also is, we mentioned at the beginning, although the F4 GT does not include a headphone jack, it does include an actual dongle this time, which is something
Yeah.
that we also don't see that often anymore. Dongles have been kind of omitted out of boxes for most devices. At least Xiaomi
Hmm.
devices no longer put them in, most. But I'm glad to see that at least Poco's putting it in there. So um, overall, I will say that if you haven't had a chance to check out Poco lately, the F4 GT is a great gaming experience, a gaming phone with a lot of options to emphasize gaming at the gaming mechanics. You know, the right speaker placement, the right cable, the right trigger functionality, the attention to detail into making a gaming phone
Hmm.
work for you. I think the N20 is a great smartphone for budget. If somebody's looking for budget smartphone on T-Mobile, it's literally the best that they have to offer as a budget phone.
Yeah.
And I think OnePlus is staying true to their experience. This is still running Oxygen OS 11, and you know, we'll have to see how that kind of goes with Android 12. It obviously won't get Android 13, but at the end of the day, I think it's a good phone for $280. I think that's what I maybe better way to
Yeah.
say it. I nitpick only because I've seen so much of OnePlus's experiences across other places, like we've seen international models.
And
And
also a brand new phone at around $300 has to do battle with a year-old, more premium mid-ranger that might still have another operating system update left in it that
yeah,
you can also get for around $300.
300 bucks. Exactly.
And it's interesting, like we take that kind of competition for granted on the premium tier. It's increasingly starting to matter on mid-rangers and more entry-level fare too.
Yeah, no,
So it's fun. I mean, that is actually a good problem to have, but it's another sort of data point that people should be looking at shopping when they're picking up a new phone.
it's definitely, it was surprising. That's what I say, because we recently started looking at the OnePlus 10 Pro, and we had a custom edition come out of it. But then the reality at the end of the day, what does OnePlus have to offer in the Nord experience? Because again, that's what they have now. Then in the US market, it's a Nord or OnePlus,
Yeah.
and we have the first Nord for 2022, and so far it's pretty good. Folks, uh,
Oh, Editya's got to bounce. So I just put up his comment.
oh
Everyone
yeah,
say
yeah,
good
no, no,
night,
no.
Aditya.
I think we're almost also kind of at that
Yeah,
that
we're kind of on our
magical
way
hour.
out. I did want to answer this real quick from CH Gadgets. Do you use FLAC files when you're testing those IEMs? So I have a playlist on Qobuz.
Mhm.
The folks at Qobuz actually made me like a special contributor. Like I've got a special banner image, and they
Nice.
had me write out. If you want, it's a book.
Mhm.
So every track in the playlist, I explain like this is what I'm listening for, and this is what I think is good representation of this song, and sometimes it's vibe, sometimes it's mood, sometimes it's individual instruments, like I was talking about in that jazz thing that
Mhm.
I always do with speakers. I'm listening specifically for the upright bass. If that's not represented, then the phone speakers kind of suck. But then I also have a collection of sorry, on Qobuz that's all in CD quality or higher,
Yeah.
and then I also have a small collection of DSD files that I'll listen to. And this is again, it's dependent on DAC connection, IEMs, and the playback source. But I don't think I do anything at MP3 anymore if I can
No,
help it.
no, no.
Everything is at least CD quality DAC, if not 2496 or higher, to really kind of get a sense of what these audio products are doing.
Well, yeah, to truly push it. But yeah, no. For me, I'm not on Qobuz. I'm on Amazon, and I do tend to try
Hmm.
to listen to the
But
higher.
they do CD. I mean, at least CD quality for
Oh,
almost.
absolutely, yeah. HD
Yeah.
is close to CD, and then we go 2496. I think they go maximum is 2496, if I'm not mistaken. Though I don't think they go above that. Very few tracks I've been able to see, like Nora Jones. I think a few tracks of Nora Jones are
Like
done.
24 192 or something
Yeah,
like that.
and very rarely do. I mean, but again, with true wireless, none of that goes up that high. You'd have to jump over to, obviously.
Right.
No, no. I mean, obviously, we know the limitation. You'll see what I like about not OnePlus. I like this Amazon is it tells you what the maximum quality of the track is and what your what your hardware is
Hmm.
capable of doing and what it's playing at. It gives you a direct explanation of where you are, as opposed to having to jump into developer settings and turn on and see where the
Yeah.
track is, what codec and what are you playing on.
See,
Um,
I like Cobuz just keeps it simple. Like even if your hardware can't really do 2496,
yeah,
you
yeah.
could still pump all the data.
Oh yeah, no, no,
Cobuz is just like, sure, we don't care. You could be dumb, but if you want 2496, we'll give it to you. And
yeah,
it's literally like, I think they've now simplified their playback menu. It's just MP3, CD, high res.
high res, yeah,
That's it. So those are your choices. And if the artist has supplied 2448 or 2448, 2488, or 2496, it
26,
just defaults to that.
yeah,
MP3 is 320. They don't even have MP3 settings. It's just MP3, and it's the highest bit rate that you can support in MP3.
yeah.
It's just funny because it's like you can tell at one point that was more of a sort of a spectrum of choices, and now they're like, nah,
Well, I
no,
mean,
you get
they are.
three,
There is
low,
there is
medium, or high.
exactly there is quite a bit of compression rates that you can go with MP3. But the reality is, if you have a good source, there's no reason to push out anything lower than 320. I mean, 128 doesn't make sense. It just, to me, it's the reality is
I mean,
once you have a good
Spotify
pair.
does it because you save money on server costs, and occasionally you do run into some areas where it might even be a little bit of a challenge to
It,
stream 320 kilobit MP3s. But I it's pretty rare that I'm really stuck in such a bandwidth dead zone that I can't at least stream 320 MP3s. There have been plenty of places where I can absolutely not sustain CD quality. Okay, I'll step it down. But like Spotify does it because they're cheap. You
yeah, yeah.
know, like consistently fought going high res, and even their Spotify Premium is like the best quality you can get on Spotify is the cheapest quality you can get on Amazon or Qobuz.
I,
Like
it,
it's rough.
well, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I decided to pay for a separate license, for a separate membership for music.
Yeah.
I have YouTube Premium, and I already have that included in my subscription. But I leave that for my son and my wife to listen to music on as much as possible. But for me, I
Hmm.
truly enjoy now higher quality on my PC and on any phone. I pick up a phone like, again with the Nord 20. I know what I'm going to be able to get in, music out of it. I can enjoy the headphone jack in there, but if I want to step it up, I just plug in my my USB-C DAC, and that's it. It just elevates anything and everything that I'm doing.
It's
So
real pretty.
I will try the IEMs though. I'm going to try them after we're done, and maybe tomorrow
Nice.
morning as well. I want to see how the audio plays back straight
Again,
off of the
it could be
built-in DAC.
just a really fun pairing. Like if you
Mhm.
spend a little bit more on some good earbuds and you're hooking that up to a reasonably inexpensive phone, that is actually kind of a fun challenge. I like that kind of mix and match where obviously I just held up $1,300 worth of earbuds. Um,
I see what you're
that's
saying.
a completely different conversation. It's so much more accessible to get something that sounds good. It's bright, it's vibrant, it's punchy. It does a great
Yep.
job of reproducing the kind of music that you like to listen to, and you shouldn't need to break the bank to do it. And again, it's incredible to me that now the poor people phones are actually more feature complete in that regard
It
than the rich person phones.
SD card, headphone jack are foreign languages to flagship smartphones. I mean, other than Sony's
Oof.
at this point, but you know what I mean. Wish YouTube Music did more high res, but yeah, no, I know but it's an issue with it relying heavily on YouTube, and it's basically
Yeah.
music. A good part of its library is based off of YouTube videos. So it's hard for them to just step it up if the original audio source is not encoded and built into that library like that. But
Yeah.
again, you don't get YouTube for that. You get that for a collection of videos and
It's
content
just the
that
way that you looked off while you were saying it too. But you don't get YouTube for that.
when you don't. I
Just
mean, because
you got that
I
1,000 yard stare.
I very I challenged myself, and I tried for the longest time, and I've been a subscriber to YouTube Music ever since the inception of it. From day
Hmm.
one, I jumped on this, and I'm still paying every month for it. But I realized where its strengths and where its weaknesses are. And right now, if I
Yeah.
really want to enjoy my music, I don't turn on YouTube Music. I turn on Amazon, and I
Hmm.
that's just literally. I mean, with the exception of me maybe going to Tidal, and that was primarily because
Yeah.
Tesla has a Tidal built-in streaming player.
Sure.
But I stopped paying for my Tesla. What's it called? The connected package, the $10 a month.
Oh
There's no
yeah,
need
yeah.
for it. So once you take that away, then it literally becomes back to the phone. So I'd rather just play the content that I want to play. So long story short, uh, yeah, put your money where your mouth is. I guess in a better way of saying is, like, if you want to enjoy it and you say you like good music, pay for it and enjoy it. Nothing's wrong with it. That's all I can say.
True
And
story.
it's all because of this guy I met a few years back. And every
Yeah.
time I talk to him, he keeps just opening up my ears to more and more
It's so
beautiful
good.
things. So, but yes, no, uh, long story again, enjoy music. Music is it's a universal language because you can, like, this is weird. Like, there are tracks that I listen to that I have no idea what they're saying in the music.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm talking about like foreign language. I'm not talking K-pop. I'm talking like just, seriously, like Spanish or German or
It's
even other
it's
languages.
okay if you like K-pop. We're
BTS
only
for the
gonna
way.
judge you a little bit.
BTS Army all the way. But you know what I mean? It's more about, like, I was watching Dan Grounded Tech. I was watching him stream Final Fantasy.
Mhm.
The score that was done there, the music, the soundtrack on that thing is amazing. And seriously, to enjoy it, to play that soundtrack and enjoy it realistically, you need to have the right pair of hardware. So to me, at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is find the music that you enjoy, and it is international language. This is literally, you do not have to understand it, but it will
Mhm.
vibe, and you will find the tunes that you like. Just get the hardware to help you get there in
For
a
sure.
hopefully an inexpensive way. Like I said, we'll
I
see.
feel like we can cap it. Treat
Yeah,
your ears,
absolutely.
be nice to them, and
Yep.
also try not to overload them. And later in life, you'll be
I,
happier.
you'll be happy. You'll be able to hear things. That
True
too.
story. So
Um,
I think on that point, we should probably. I didn't mean to even include the extra thing on the Odysseys. Those just showed up a couple days ago, and
that's how
they've
we
been
roll.
rocking my socks. So
That's how we roll.
we've got tomorrow streaming is LaShawn, Holler at Your
LaShawn.
Boy.
Yep.
That should be. I don't know if it's full on Ignant Hours, but if you want to watch a crew of techies get belligerently drunk and just like talk mad trash at each other, that's always a good time. I
Always.
think there might be another tech fight. Tech King Mike do
Oh,
another
okay.
debate over the weekend. You've got a stream on Saturday. You're going to be
Saturday
back in
morning.
on Saturday.
Yep. Android
Uh,
Days back.
El Jefe Reviews is going to be on Sunday. So again,
Yep.
if you want to further this audio conversation, you should absolutely be subscribed to Jeff's channel, El
Absolutely.
Jefe Reviews. And then Monday, I'm back in with Monday Morning News
Yep.
Tech Chat show. So
Yep. And
yeah, we've
then
got some good streams coming up.
it's beautiful. Every day, everything, something for us to enjoy. And of course,
Every day.
if you do want to be able to catch this on the replay, we'll have the audio podcast hopefully going up sometime in early in the morning tomorrow. And the reality at the end of the day is, just do better, do more, know what you're getting with your tech, and you'll enjoy them more. Understand what you're getting and set the expectations to what you're buying. Don't expect things that are not part of what you're trying to get to. So, uh, with that being said, thank you very much for hanging out with us. I see Finn Jacobs just hanging out with us. Hope you're doing
Hey,
well.
Finn, you just made it. We're wrapping
I
up.
know we're wrapping up as we're finishing here, and so hope you guys have a great evening. It's Thursday. There's still a couple more, one more day before the weekend. So hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm looking forward to giving. There's going to be a giveaway on Saturday. If you guys are getting a chance to hit it up on the Android
Tune
Bay,
in
tune
for
in,
Android
and
Bay contest giveaway.
it's intended specifically for followers. I'm not trying to use this to build up
Make
and
sure you're following
so.
now.
As TK says, I'm not doing it, then. So thank you very much. Hope you guys are doing great. We'll see you next week for another episode of the best of our week. Hopefully with more things that we can probably talk about that we couldn't talk about this week. Thank you, Juan, and take care, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Take care,
Bye for
all.
now.